Hey, what is up, guys? I'll scoot this over a little bit right there. All right. Let's see here. What's up? I don't see myself. Do you guys see me on here? For some reason, I'm not seeing me, which is weird. Typically, I would see me. Can you guys see me okay on Instagram? Let me know. I know you guys can see me on YouTube, but I don't see. There's Kyle. You guys can see me? Okay. Well, I'll trust you guys can see me because I can't see myself for some reason, but that's all right. All right, good deal. What's happening, guys? Hopefully, I'll be able to see Kyle and hear him here. Hey, Kyle, you there?
Hey, yeah, I can see you.
All right, good. Yeah, I'm getting a blank here, but as long as you guys can see, that's good. What's going on? What's going on? We're gonna talk some new lures and stuff for 2023. I think tonight. That's kind of my goal since the fishing has been kind of tough to get at lately. I haven't been out a whole lot. There's still some fishing going on the Great Lakes, but other than that, it's been pretty slow. Just tough to find anywhere fishable, really.
Yeah, it seems like the ice that's left, a lot of it's not safe.
Right, exactly.
All the lakes, at least around Hayward.
Yeah, it's pretty crappy ice, and a lot of the rivers are blowing out, of course, with all the rain and snow. So here, Blake's hopping on too. We'll see if he's been out lately. Oh, so I know you were on Green Bay, Kyle. Let's talk about that a little bit.
So yeah, we fished the Bay of Green Bay for 4 days.
Hey, Blake.
Hi, Blake.
How's it going, guys?
Awesome.
So we best numbers I think maybe I've ever had, but we didn't catch a lot of big fish, and we didn't catch a lot of pre-spawn fish, which is most of the reason you go to Green Bay is to catch big pre-spawn walleyes.
Mm-hmm.
But we did catch great numbers. I know we had one day that was well over 50 fish for 3 guys, which I consider to be really good. I know there's people that do better, but that's really good for us.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really good fishing. What was the biggest fish of the trip?
A really skinny 29 and a half.
Okay.
And actually, we didn't even think it was big enough to be worth measuring, but we threw it on the measuring stick anyway, and we were surprised how long it was. But really skinny, not an impressive fish, but that was the longest one. And then we had a 28 and some change, a couple 27s, but the bulk of our fish were like 20 to 23, which still, it's a great walleye.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not top notch for Green Bay size.
Would you say they were primarily all spawned out females, or?
I don't know males too well, but almost everything was post spawn. So obviously, when they're post spawn, they're real aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the bites we were getting were on like hair jigs and stuff, and on the fall where you just feel the thump. And anybody that fishes jigs knows an awesome feeling.
Oh yeah, you better believe it.
Definitely.
There's almost no better feeling than the fish really thumping a jig. It's probably my favorite.
Right.
How about you, Blakey? You get out fishing the last couple weeks at all?
Trout fishing a few times. Our lakes down here are starting to open up. Like, I live right by Lake Wissota. That's wide open now. But rivers are pretty much torched in this neck of the woods.
Yeah.
The rivers are torched. Streams are pretty high too for the most part. You can find some streams that aren't too bad, but anything that's closer to a bigger river is insanely high still.
Yep.
We just got 2 inches of rain in the last couple of days too, so that ain't gonna help anything.
Yeah, they were already high, and now we got a bunch of rain on top of it. So
yeah, down here. I mean, the chip down here is the highest it's been since the '60s. So
wow,
it's there's a lot of water down here right now. But now if the lakes are starting to open up, I'll probably get out, take the boat out here probably tomorrow.
Sure. Yeah, it's going to take a little bit to get that water moved out.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with more rain and wet weather coming here this weekend, and it's just going to take a bit. Yeah, I actually didn't. I only fished a little tiny bit last weekend for. I did try a couple trout spots, but they were so high, it was just like kind of going fishing just to go fishing. It wasn't really.
That's exactly it.
Wasn't realistically hoping to catch a trout, but.
Yeah, I know I was talking to you when I was out last, and I was just happy to be moving fish because the time before that I didn't even move a fish. So
yeah, but that being said, there's a lot of good times coming, and I think this is going to be a really good year overall. A lot less pressure on the lakes over the winter. I think, hopefully we get a big warm front right before opening day and we get some good weather for opening weekend. If that happens, I think the fishing is going to be awesome. Like if we get a spike in temps and some good weather, it could be a great opener.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like when I look back at the years that I've had the best success at, opener and like the weeks after that, it's these late years. I mean, I hate these years because it means I'm getting on the lake around the same time as everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But because normally I'd be out in March or beginning of April around here. But usually the fishing's been for that first, 30 days or so of game fish season at least.
Yeah. Yeah, our lakes up here are even starting to open up. Like Spooner Lake's wide open, Tozier Lake's wide open. A couple of other smaller lakes I've seen have been like half open. So, we're starting to get there in this area. But you could put a boat in on a couple of them for sure already. So,
that's good.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it because I'm going to Florida tomorrow. So.
That'll be fun, right?
That should be good timing. I was in Duluth today at work, and the weather up there was so ridiculous. It was just snow and sleet and freezing rain blowing sideways at 50 miles an hour all day. Like
that sounds nice.
Oh, it was horrible. There was power outages all over. It was just a horrible ice storm, basically, and coming right off the lake, just roaring wind all day long. So. Florida's going to feel pretty nice after that.
Oh, for sure.
And hoping to get a big largemouth down there. Looks like the weather's good there. So we'll be sending you guys some reports from that area, and definitely going to do my best to get on some fish down there. So, but yeah, I was going to just show you guys a couple new lures that I got. Couple of them are the new Z-Viber colors. So that's hopefully you guys can see that. That's the one I'm most excited about right there. That's the craw, the new craw color.
Nice.
Bama craw.
Yeah, Bama craw. And that's going to be a killer because everybody knows lipless cranks in red or crayfish colors, especially early in cold water. Super, super awesome bait for big bass and walleyes too. And then they also put that same color on the Z crankers, and that's going to be a good one too. And then some new colors in the Z spender also. This is my favorite color in almost all the stuff. Oh, okay. I can only see my YouTube screen, so can you guys see that one?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so that's like that pumpkin seed real image type color. And then they've got that in the new Z-Viber too. So it's pretty sweet looking. I mean, that doesn't look like a bluegill. I don't know what does.
Yeah, that's called the sunfish, the
real sunfish.
Sunfish, yep.
It's pretty sweet, pretty sweet looking bait. That's the same color I've been using in 1/8 ounce for all the bass and stuff in the wintertime. So that's been a super good color for bass because it's what they eat. They hate bluegills and they chomp them every chance they get. So I'm pretty stoked to throw that one. So some fun new stuff. And then also I'm going to I don't know if I got any of the Helgramites down here, but they also came out with some Helgramites, like 1 point.
I got some
Yeah,
here.
Blake's probably got some. What are they? 1.5 or 1.2?
1.8.
1.8. Yeah, 1.8 long. So they're pretty sweet looking bait. I'm definitely gonna catch fish on those. Oh yeah.
Yep.
That's gonna be a really good drop shot bait and a really good Ned rig bait.
Yeah, I've been using it for trout, and it works pretty darn good for trout too.
Oh yeah, I believe it. I plan to do some downsizing for smallmouth this year. Like I want to try throwing that Z spender a little bit more. You know, this mini stick bait. It's just if you got a rod that can throw it on light line and get it out there far enough, I think the smallmouth are just gonna crush that thing.
So I've had, at least on the rivers by me and in some of those lakes up by Hayward, I've thrown that Z popper, which is that tiny little popper.
Mm-hmm.
And they munch that stuff. It just depends on the day. I mean, certain days they really want like the big. If you throw a musky bait, you're going to catch more smallmouth than other days. That little tiny popper, and that's what they want.
Yeah, there's something about small baits for smallmouth. They tend, like a lot of days, that's all you can get them on sometimes is those tiny little finesse stuff like Ned rigs and stuff. And it'll be fun to do some experimenting with that micro stuff. So yeah, that's some of the new stuff. And then Billy Rub's got a whole bunch of new scents out. This is Leech, but there's a bunch of new ones this year. Freshwater shrimp and alewife. He's got a bunch of new ones, so those are going to be good too. Always coming out with new smelly stuff over at Billy Rub.
Yeah, that's what he's known for.
Yep. And actually, he's got some new open water baits too that are going to be pretty sweet.
Nice.
Trout on a popper. You catch trout on a popper, Blake?
I haven't, but the owner of Euro Tackle has spent, when he first was testing the Z popper, he caught quite a few trout, stock trout, but still, I don't know why you wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, I'm sure they will hit them, especially at night. I think
the kind of the worst part of it is making sure they get a hook in their mouth. It's not like a smallmouth that just engulfs the whole thing, or a largemouth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. They can just kind of nip at it sometimes, I suppose. And
yep.
Yeah. So Kyle, tell me what your next plan is. You got plans for like opening weekend? Are you guiding clients, or you got something else going on?
Yeah, I'll be guide, but kind of early. I'll just go to wherever I think I catch the walleyes. Probably a Clear Lake. I know a lot of like fishing foliage early, but I typically like fish Clear Lake and just trying to find the weed roll and pretty. But before that comes, I've got a turkey tag, so I'm gonna try to hunt one of those tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
I've been getting stuff ready tonight, finding my calls, and make sure my bow's sighted in, and hopefully get a turkey in the morning.
So you're gonna try and stick one with the bow, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
I see the Net Buddy just signed on. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but since he's here, it made me think of it, and it's sitting right here. Got this new Net Buddy contraption called the Musky Buddy. Basically, what it is, this goes over a net.
Yep.
The net, and pull this pin that stays on net. This goes in the trap that a lot of people have on the gun all their boat. Yep. And what it does is you net a muskie, you can slide your net into here, and it holds your net right both sides, so you don't have to worry about your net being dragged into the water. Maybe it's wavy, maybe you're fishing by yourself. But this is something really awesome. I haven't used it yet, obviously. I just got it.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Something really cool that came out this year.
I just got a transducer cover in the mail from them today. It's a nice little neoprene cover. Seems super high quality, so I didn't even see that on their website. I'm gonna have to go look at that.
It may have just gotten up there. I know they just released them. But I actually have the transducer cover too. They've got some really cool products.
Yeah, for sure.
Guy that is doing it, he's from the Twin Cities, I think.
Yeah, Minneapolis. It looks like
super efficient, super into making products that are genuine and are very well thought out.
Hey Blake,
Yeah.
Are you taking Euro tackle lures out of their packages or something?
Yeah, is it too loud?
Yeah, it cuts off. It cuts off whoever's talking. It like
oh, really?
Yeah, as soon as it hears you the loudest, it switches to you, and it's kind of fading in and out. So I've heard that sound before, and I figured that's what it was.
Oh yeah.
Always fun taking new stuff out of the package.
Oh yeah, it's like Christmas, man. It's better than Christmas sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
But Chris Hagnes said that eliminates half the adventure of solo night fishing for muskies. Not half, but maybe a quarter.
A huge, especially at night when you can't see. It's going to be so not have to worry about where the net is. Walk to the front, get the pliers, just be able to have one more thing taken care of. And if you're pulling that fish out for a picture, you don't have to worry about the net sliding in.
See, for me, I think that'd be sweet because I always just leave my fish in the net. You get your camera set up, whatever. Mm-hmm. That's perfect. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. You can leave that in and leave your fish in the net. You'd be good to go.
You could definitely use it if you had a deep enough bag, or if your gunnel or your boat was low enough. You could use it for walleyes or trout, or maybe it's because I'm a musky fisherman, but I like leaving all kinds of fish in the net. I leave everything in the net.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's a great idea, especially if you're catch and release fishing and you want to get pictures, because technically you're not supposed to put them in your live well. So it's really the only legal solution if you want to keep them and get your camera set up, without taking them out of the water. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. I like that idea. I may have to jump on the bandwagon with that as well.
But very well made, quality. It's all machined aluminum.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I'm gonna try to break it. I'm really good at breaking stuff, but prices in my boat, it's probably worth a couple seasons in a lot of people's boats.
Yeah, I agree. Question from Fired is, any bad freeze out in your areas? Yes, there is some bad freeze out in our areas, 100%. I don't know how bad it's going to be yet because some of the ice isn't off of the lakes, but we are definitely have some winter kill this year for sure. Have some confirmation of that already, and I don't know how bad it's going to be, but and it's not always bad, like a lot of times it does help the fishery in the long run, but it is going to be impacting the lakes for the short term, some of them for sure. What have you guys seen as far as freeze out?
Down here, I haven't seen much of anything yet or heard of anything yet, but I'm sure some of the shallower lakes, like a lot of the lakes in the Chippewa County Forest, those freeze out anytime there's a bad year. It's pretty much a guarantee that a good chunk of those froze out. So I'm sure there's some of that there, but otherwise I haven't heard much yet.
Yeah. How about you, Kyle? Anything in the Hayward area? Any reports yet?
Everything is still froze for the most part, so I haven't heard of it, but I've seen enough pictures in other areas that if other areas are freezing out, I would imagine that the Hayward area is, because it was a tough winter. It really was. So I think certain lakes that are prone to it definitely probably had some at least.
Yeah. I confirmed it on one lake that I fish regularly. And we had found the fish in the top 5 feet of the water column earlier in the winter, and I went back and couldn't find any fish and put the camera down, and I saw a bunch of dead ones on the bottom. So it's definitely that one's for sure took a hit. He said dead elk and deer everywhere out here. Yeah, he's out west, and they got so much stinking snow this year out there. I mean, I don't know how anything could survive out in like 20 feet of snow. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's
They got
nuts.
it worse than we did, so I guess it could always be worse. They did break the all-time record in Duluth for snowfall this year.
I saw that.
Just yesterday, which is pretty crazy. I think it was
Yeah, that is crazy.
136 inches or something like that. So, and that's what really kills fish is snow. It's not necessarily thick ice. It's the light penetration that gets blocked out by all that frozen slush and snow, that super dark ice. It just kills all the weeds and then they start to decompose, and that's what sucks up the oxygen. So you can have really thick ice and not much oxygen loss if you don't have a lot of snow. But like this year, we just had snow after snow after snow. All the ice was cloudy, and it had piles of snow on top of it, on top of that. So definitely took some fish out, but that's all right. A lot of those lakes, they never totally winter kill. Most of them, they partial winter kill, and it really actually is what creates some of the bigger fish in the area is some of those lakes that freeze out every now and then. So in 4 or 5 years from now, we may have some really, really big panfish in some of those lakes. So we'll see. But yeah, good question. I'm sure, like out in South Dakota, I've seen some pictures and stuff from out there of just piles of dead fish. Like they took it pretty hard out west too. So yeah, one of those years. But I was gonna ask you guys. So I'm trying to figure out the best mount for my live scope because I haven't had it on my boat yet. And I know Kyle, I talked to you about the Brew City mount, and I'm thinking of going that route right now. But have either of you seen that Arc Labs setup from Canada, from Winnipeg?
Yeah. I haven't seen it in person. I've seen stuff online, and it looks pretty impressive. But
okay, they're about the
it's
same
also
price. Yeah, they're both the same.
Brew City one?
Yeah, they're both just over $300.
Yep.
So I'm just trying to figure out which one I'm going to go with right now, but I'm kind of leaning towards the Brew City setup. It seems like it's pretty slick, so I may actually even pick one up. I think they sell them at Shields, so I'm going to be down in Eau Claire. We're actually flying out of Eau Claire tomorrow. We've never flown out of Eau Claire, but
Nice.
the cheapest flight we could get was Eau Claire this year, so I might swing into the Shields and buy one on our way
And they
back.
I would check inventory because they didn't have a lot of that kind of stuff at the Eau Claire Shields.
Yeah, I would call them for sure and find out if they have one. But I got to get something before opener so I can get out and try it. But pretty excited for that.
When I ordered mine, that was one of the first things I was impressed by. It took them like 2 days at my door.
Oh, nice. And you ordered it right from Brew City?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Shields, if they have them, they ship them really fast. Like everything I've ever ordered from Shields is there like the next day or the day after. So they're really quick. But yeah, so that'll be fun to get that done. And I got my kayak all rigged already, so I'm a little ahead of the game on that. I got that rigged with an anchor trolley, and I got my depth finder on there. I got my old Lowrance on there. Got the seat mod done, so I raised my seat to about 6 inches. Lots of guys with that kayak said it was well worth it to raise the seat. So I got that done, and I got a crate in there. Just basically, I got rod holders in there, pretty much ready to rock on the kayak. So that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun to try out this year. Try some new river stuff out with that, I think, is the plan. But we'll have to see if we can get out on some of those smaller rivers and test some Euro tackle stuff, Blake.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, those smaller rivers, I know for a fact it will work.
Oh yeah, yeah. All that stuff works. I've caught a lot of fish on. Well, a lot of them on the Fat Assassins actually. Put those on a Ned head in a river. They're absolutely killer. And then like the Z Vibers, I've always done good on rivers on those too, especially for walleyes. Just seems like they river fish like them a lot.
my favorite river bait has been, at least all of last year, was the Metacraw.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Nico rig it.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that was dynamite for smallmouth last year.
Yep, that's another one of those small packages that's just seem to really like smallmouth just can't resist that little 2-inch crayfish.
No.
Yeah, and I actually caught several walleyes on the Metacraw last year too, on the Ned on the Ned head. You know.
Yeah, I believe it.
Walleyes love crayfish too, just smaller ones than than bass eat, but they'll eat crayfish all day long. So yeah, that's gonna be fun.
But I haven't seen any companies that have this like a weedless Ned head.
Oh yeah.
This is something folded. Maybe other companies make them, but I haven't fished with them until this year. But I think this is going to be really sweet for that kind of stuff. Maybe not the super small stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I fish a lot of like not a Ned rig, but a longer one, not a 5-inch Senko. They're probably like 3.5, 4 inches.
Yep.
And it fit really well on here.
Okay. Yeah, like I think Z-Man makes a bigger TRD, like a not the finesse TRD, but the bigger one. It's like 3.5 inches or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe 4. And then I know the General, they make a 4-inch or 3.5 or 4-inch General.
Yep.
So yeah, that's just another thing I'm going to try this year too that I saw just on a couple other just YouTube channels. Basically, is guys are starting to fish Ned rig plastics with on their bass jigs, like on the back of a bass jig, or even a Senko off the back of a bass jig, and they're combining the two, and like a finesse skirted jig, use that with a 3-inch Ned plastic. Supposedly that's a really deadly setup. Shiburashka rig. Thank us later. Never heard of it. Do you know how to pronounce that?
Rig.
Shiburushka. Okay, yeah, he may have spelled that not quite the same. So what is a Shiburushka rig? I have not heard of that one yet, Blake.
Basically, picture a ball head with like a Texas hook, a small Texas
hook.
And
yeah.
it swings back and forth. You know what I'm talking about?
I've seen them. They use them in Europe quite a bit.
Yeah, they're very popular in Europe.
Yep. They catch all those big Xander and stuff on them all the time.
Yep.
And the perch. Yeah, it's basically like like the bass jigs, like the swivel head jigs, but smaller.
Correct. Yep.
It does the same thing. Not quite the same, but you can rig whatever hook you want on them, right?
You could, yeah. Like the ones I've seen a lot of times, it's like a Texas style hook on there, like a wide gap hook.
Oh yeah, Bait Finesse says.
But I don't know where I have them at.
He says you can rig whatever EWG you want on them. Yeah, that's cool. That's interesting. Yeah, and I suppose you can get those, and maybe you could get a smaller hook for a smaller bait on those too, which might be nice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Bait Finesse Empire has some different ones if I remember right.
Okay, yeah, maybe they make them. That's cool. Nice. Yeah, there's so many new rigs out there in the last 2 or 3 years that have come out that I haven't even kept up with all of them, but I'm just kind of a jig head guy. I fish a lot of baits on jig heads, just jig worm, Ned rig,
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, no matter how many new rigs come out, it's still hard to beat a jig. It is. I mean, it's the most versatile out of every rig there is.
Yep. For sure. But there's always, I'm more intrigued with the weedless stuff, like how to make those finesse baits weedless. That's what I really want to try and figure out this year. Because some of those,
you could do that with that Chubberooska rig.
Yep.
You could do that because it's a wide gap hook, so you can just cover up the hook point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there's some spots that I know there's giant perch, and it's just nothing but thick, weeds, like shallow, thick weeds. And if a guy
Yeah.
could get like a bee vibe in there or something and drop it in those weed pockets without hanging up every time, I know there's some massive perch you could catch.
Right.
Yeah. Bait finesse, yeah, you got one with you? If you do, I can add you and we can see it. That'd be cool. I'd like to see one. Just request to go live. We got one more spot we can fit you in for a minute. But yeah, that's kind of what I want to focus on, and wood cover too, like in those rivers, like I was talking about. There's so many fish hiding in those brush and laydowns and trees in the water, and it's hard to get a bait in there that's not weedless. It's almost impossible.
Right.
Here, we'll add him and see what he's got. Hey, how's it going?
Howdy, y'all. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for adding me.
Yeah, no
Really
problem.
cool.
I'd love to see what you got there.
Yeah, let me see. I gotta flip this video. And actually, funny enough, you mentioned B-Vibe. I have one rigged up to my B-Vibe color. I don't know if you guys have seen that. I'll show you.
Yeah. Hey, he's got that exclusive one there.
Yep.
So.
Oh, that's awesome.
There we go. That color. We call it Empire Shad. It's kind of a smoky black. Can't see it too well in this lighting, but there's red flake on top, and then it's white on the bottom.
Oh, that's sick.
This is the 2-inch model. We got the 3-inch coming out probably in the next few weeks.
Awesome.
Getting into the rig, you guys mentioned the weedless nets. Now, actually, a lot of times what I do instead of a weedless net is a Jika rig. Probably familiar with that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but these chub rigs are really cool. I don't know if it's going to focus for us, but you can see I have a little EWG.
Yep.
It's called an inch hook. It's made for 1 to 2 inch plastics, and it's attached to this clip, and you slide that ball jig on, and the balls come in different sizes. I got 1.5 gram and 3 gram and 5 maybe, 2 sizes in stock. And then when I attach it to my line, I actually like to tie a snap on the end of the line.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't use a snap, what'll happen after a few casts into some thick stuff, that ball will kind of slide up your line.
Okay.
It becomes a snagging hazard at that point. But the way it is there, you can see, and it just really wins, you know what I mean?
That looks awesome.
So and I rig it with the B-Vibes. I also rig it with the 1.8 inch Metacross.
Mm-hmm. Where do you get those? Do you have those hooks in stock?
Yes, I got those hooks in stock, as well as the jig heads.
Okay.
A little low right now, but I just had a restock landed, so I'll get them uploaded in the next few days.
Mm-hmm.
And then actually, the jig heads come in a few colors too. So
I may have to get on and pick some of that stuff up, because that's exactly what I'm looking for. And it looks like those ball heads, like the line ties on the front of the head too, which is perfect for weeds.
Well, yeah. Not only that, but I mean you see, I just disconnected it, right? You can see the clip.
Yep.
In the ball, and you just slide it through. So, and like I said, different size ball heads, so you can swap them out as needed.
No, that's pretty sweet. I like it.
Cool.
Yeah. Thanks for showing us that. That's cool.
For checking it out. Absolutely.
What's your website? What's your website address?
BaitFinesseEmpire.com.
BaitFinesseEmpire.com. Okay.
They have some really cool stuff on there. If you haven't checked it out, I mean, the big Euro tackle supporters, like they have a ton of cool stuff on the website.
Hey, we're big Euro tackle supporters. Not only that, but Euro tackle's a big supporter of us.
Absolutely.
Since I first started, man, Ben has been awesome, supportive. It was his idea for me to come up with an exclusive color on the B-Vibe, so we did that. And I have all his newest stuff. You know, the Helga mice that just came out, we got them. All the new colors on the Z spenders and the Z crankers, we got them. So
awesome.
Check us out if you haven't had a chance. We do all the BFS stuff. You know what I mean?
Yep.
All the light line stuff, 2 to 10 pound in that range on bass, panfish, trout, saltwater, you name it. We carry all that stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely be checking that out. And yeah, you and I may need to chat sometime.
Anytime, brother. Anytime.
Cool. Well, thanks for hopping on. I appreciate it.
No problem. Now I gotta figure out how to hop out.
All right. If you can't, I can knock you out, I think. But
yeah, I think you gotta knock me.
Okay, let's see.
Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, thanks, man. Let's see if I can even figure that out. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Well, that was awesome. See you later.
Yeah.
He's still here.
I'll leave and hop back in.
Okay, I'm trying to get it, but it said it was going to let me, and now it's not for some reason. So there we
Daddy's
go.
hair jigs wants to know if there's any hair jig fans.
Oh, I know there's at least 2.
Yeah.
One of the things doing is that I was rubbing a bunch of billy rub, the crawfish billy rub, on those jigs, and that scent just. Maybe that was a big part of why we did so good. I've never used billy rub down there before this trip, but it definitely stays in that hair jig.
Oh yeah, that stuff sticks forever. That's the one reason I don't see any reason to ever go back to anything else. It just, you can't beat that when you can make 20 casts and it's still on there.
Yeah.
So you were smoking them on the billy rub, huh?
Oh yeah.
I'll have to let Bill know. He'll be stoked to hear that.
It's crawfish flavor, and it definitely didn't hurt.
Oh yeah, for sure. Daddy's hand-tied jigs is tying some right now, he says. That's awesome. I have not gotten into hair jigs like too crazy yet, but I plan on definitely fishing them more this year. Definitely want to try some marabou, light hair jigs for smallies. Just heard too much about that bite to not try it.
Yeah, that can be a blast.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to that. And like I said, a little bit of billy rub on there. And I like on flies and on jigs, I like to put it just around the front, like where the wrapping is. I don't like to get it too far back because you lose some of the action on the feathers. But like just around the front of it and around the jig head is all you really need to do. Water and Ice says, is that stuff messy to use compared to other dips and dyes? I mean, no, I'd say it's less messy because it's not liquid. So like you can just wipe it off your hand or whatever. It's more like a paste, I would say, or a grease almost. Yeah. So it's no messier than any other scent. Like I'll show you here. I got some right here. So it's like a paste. You can see that on my finger. It's basically like petroleum jelly is really what it is. And it stays on your bait super, super well compared to anything else because it's water repellent basically. And little chunks and pieces come off of it in the water and it leaves a scent trail.
I still got it all over my hair jig, and that was fished through. I know for a fact I only put it on here once, and I caught a bunch of fish and drove home with it in my boat in the rain, and it still tastes like crayfish road.
Nice. Yep. And my 3 favorite flavors are crayfish, nightcrawler, and leech. Those are my top scents from Billy Rub so far. Tried a lot of them, but actually there was another one that he made that's not in production that I've got to call him and try and get him to make it again. But it was chocolate crayfish, and it actually smelled like chocolate a little bit, and it was kind of a darker brown. And that was by far my best trout smell. Like I don't know what it was about that one, but I did way better on trout specifically with that one for some reason than anything else I've put on. So I'll have to try and get him to make that again. But yeah. Stuff works.
Be a little too tempting for me. I don't know.
Might not make it through the day, huh?
I definitely have eaten some pretty spoiled food out of the bottom of my boat just because I want to keep fishing.
I was going to ask you, in Green Bay, was the bite mainly night bite, or were you getting them in the day too?
Morning and evening were definitely the best.
Okay.
Middle of the day was very tough. it was kind of getting down to like a fish an hour in the middle of the day. We trolled at night for 2 nights, and both of those were pretty good. We definitely caught bigger fish at night trolling. And we caught the couple pre-spawners we caught were at night trolling.
Okay.
But basically morning and evening were the best. Or on Sunday, it was kind of nasty, rainy, and it kind of extended into the afternoon or midday more.
Okay.
When you're dealing with calmer high skies, it definitely gets tough because we were catching them real shallow water from 3 to 6 feet primarily.
Okay.
Out in 10, 12, but most of our fish were super shallow.
And it's pretty clear down there right now too, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of parts are.
Mm-hmm.
You try to stay in the dirty water just because it's warmer, but we caught fish in pretty clear water, and even just driving around trying to find fish early in the trip before we kind of had them dialed in, we were seeing them.
Mm-hmm.
You make tips.
Oh, you were visibly seeing them.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's cool.
But obviously, once you see them with your eyes, you probably spooked them. You're not going to catch them.
Yeah, not during the day. I've done it at night, but not during the day.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. Water and Ice says, just an FYI, Virtual Angling has weekly fishing reports from Green Bay. Sorry for the shameless plug. That's all right. I put a lot of content on Virtual Angling myself, so I have no problem with plugging them. They do actually have a lot of great stuff on that app, and it's super up to date. So they're doing some good lives over there too as well. And I'm putting some exclusive content on there just so you guys know. And it's a great. They're doing some good stuff. I like it because they have no sponsors. That's what's so awesome about Virtual Angling. Like, all their income comes from memberships, so you literally can talk about any bait or use any bait or anything you want is fair game because they're not sponsored. So they have free reign because they're a private, they're not using advertising. So it's kind of nice that way. It's a good idea. It's a good setup. So you get that bias kind of out of there. And, you're guys who like me, who, I obviously use specific stuff like Euro tackle and clam all the time. I mean, that's what I'm going to talk about, but it's also, an open field. So the next guy might talk about Rapala. The next guy might talk about, VMC or whatever. So that's kind of nice. Yeah, it's a good deal. I like that format. It's been fun. So, what else was I gonna go over? Oh, I was gonna just see what you guys had planned and kind of go over my plan for the opening weekend. What is your plan, Blake? What's your strategy going into opening day this year?
Throw jerk bait.
So
That's usually what I do in opener.
You got three options then.
Yeah.
Throw jerkbait, throw jerkbait, or throw jerkbait.
Yeah, for a Wisconsin opener, I mean, the lake I typically fish, it's smallmouth and walleyes. So, like, to me, that's, covers kind of the best of both worlds there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I go over to Minnesota fish opener, it's a lot of jig and plastic, jig and shiner. But over here, I've had a lot more success throwing a jerkbait on opener, especially like last year where we had a little bit later year. The water was still cold on opener. It's probably going to be a very similar deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm throwing a jerkbait.
Nice. Yep, that sounds like a good plan. I may be doing a lot of the same. And actually, I think in a lot of those scenarios where you can throw a jerkbait, if you're on rock, Z-Viber is going to catch fish too.
For sure.
That's another. If you fish it like a jig and you just a slow pull and a drop and a slow pull and a drop, that's a killer bass bait in cold water.
Yeah.
And walleyes. I mean, both of them will munch it. So I might be hopping back and forth between those two. How about you, Kyle? What's your plan?
I'm partial to live bait early in the year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll definitely be be fishing some fatheads. But I don't know. I definitely agree with the jerkbait thing. I think that covering water with jerkbaits, especially, I'll sometimes approach it kind of like I'm running a weed line musky fishing. You know, everybody in the boat cast something fast and just move and cover water and catch aggressive fish. And that can, especially like a wind-blown point or something, somewhere where stuff's been getting blown into, I can just see that really working well this year.
Yep. And that's something we should mention. Like when the water's cold, if there's been any kind of warming trend and sun out, you know, and warming weather, you want to be on the wind blown side because that is where the warmest water is going to be, and that's where the fish are going to move up. Like there can be a 10 to 15 degree difference in surface temp from the upwind to the downwind side of the lake this time of year, easily. And if you're fishing the calm side, you're probably fishing the cold side of the lake.
Another thing that I found, maybe you guys will agree or disagree, but early in the year like this, I really like fishing shorelines. I like shore-related structure, maybe a point, but I stay away from mid-lake stuff like the Plague this time of year.
Oh yeah,
100%. Yep.
I 100% agree. Yep. And I don't even know necessarily why that is, because a lot of that offshore structure had fish on it in the winter, you know, through the ice season. But
whether there's, in the spawn or done with the spawn, a lot of that stuff happens close to shore.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a lot of what it has to do with.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, and it's amazing how many fish will stack up on some of those good shoreline structure areas in the spring, especially if it's a lake that doesn't have a lot of structure and it's got like one or two good points or whatever on it. I mean, it can be downright crazy how many fish pile up on there. Yep. And another one is bays, like shallow bays. If you can get in a shallow bay where the wind's blowing into it in the early spring and pushing that warm water in there, man, it can load up with fish. Yeah, the forage also moves shallow that time of year. Like bluegills and panfish, especially, like when they start feeling that sun on their backs, they get real shallow real quick. Yep, very true. Yeah, that sounds like both of them are good strategies. Now, when you're fishing fatheads, Kyle, early in the spring in shallow water, what weight jig head are you fishing them on typically?
If it's windy, I'll go up to a quarter, but usually it's an eighth, or I mold my own, so I have some goofy weights, but an eighth or less. I go as light as I possibly can because old, I think the slow fall is nice. But obviously, if it's windy, that can change it. Or if I'm guiding and I have someone in the boat who can't feel the bottom, I'll move them to a heavier jig just so they can get used to keeping in contact with the bottom. Because walleyes, especially, that's going to be pretty important this time of year, keeping it tight where I fish anyway.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and you'd much rather err on the side of a heavy jig on the bottom and touching bottom than one that's 5 feet off the bottom because they're, fishing it too fast.
Right.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah, that's fun. Like that fathead jig bite it can be really fast action too if you get on them. It's always a good time. I always have live bait with me, even though I've been fishing artificials more and more the last few years. I can't go walleye fishing without some minnows in the boat.
Well, if you got multiple people in the boat, I think it's great to have multiple presentations. And if you've got an old guy in the boat, he probably wants to throw live bait.
Yep.
Most cases.
Old guy, also known as my dad.
Yeah, that's my dad as well. Yeah.
Like I know what he's throwing. He's throwing a 1/4 ounce chartreuse jig with a fathead on it. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
And he'll catch fish too. I mean, they catch a lot of bass on that setup too in the spring. And you get bit off by a lot of pike typically too.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yep. But yeah, I'm super excited. It's been a long winter, man. It's been a long winter, and I love ice fishing, but I am so ready to be done with ice fishing this year.
Oh, I've been ready for about 2 months now.
Kyle was ready like November 29th, I think.
Yeah, hard pass on the ice for me, but I get why people like it.
Yeah, it can be fun. What's better than live bait? We got a question.
Billy Rowe.
There's a lot of plastics that I'd take over live bait depending on the situation.
Yeah. To me, the advantage to plastics is there's two advantages. You get the exact action you want all the time because it's consistent, and number two, you get less baits getting ripped off, and you can fish them faster and rip them through cover, and you aren't worried about that minnow getting torn off of there. What about you, Blake?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both of those. The other part is you don't have to make that extra stop. I don't have to worry about keeping, an aerator running, keeping it cold. It's just whatever. I just throw it in a bag and I'm good to go.
Yep. No, there's definitely something to be said for plastics. There's days though that, man, you just can't catch as many fish on them as you can on live bait, especially early in the spring, like Kyle said. It just seems like for whatever reason those fish they're not fired up enough to chase a plastic down, and they have too much time to look at it sometimes when it's moving slow.
Yep.
But especially in the clear lakes we have up in Hayward area, in dirty water, it doesn't seem to matter as much. But man, some of those lakes are so stupid clear in Hayward that they can see everything.
Yes. Yes, they can.
Plastics have come a long ways. Yes, they have. That's true too. I mean, we've come a long way from basically the only plastics they had when I was a kid was Mr. Twisters, like Twister tails and Sassy Shad. Like that was it.
Right.
That's all they had. There was no other choices. It was basically all we bring to the boundary waters was Mr. Twister tails. That was it.
Yep.
That's all they made. Other than bass stuff, they started making a lot more bass plastics way before they started making any walleye plastics. For sure.
Like in most of the time, bass guys are ahead of the curve on everything. Like something that gets big in the bass world, give it a few years, and the walleye and musky guys will start catching up.
Yep.
Yeah, and part of that is just because bass is everywhere. I mean, walleye and muskie aren't.
Right.
And the competitive side of bass fishing is, far more present than it is. There's 2 walleye tournament trails,
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they're still not that popular in comparison to bass.
Right.
But
yeah, so the competition's super high, and everybody's trying to figure out a new way to get an edge on everybody else. So they're always innovating, trying new stuff. And then once they win a few tournaments on it, then the manufacturers latch onto it, and it's all over.
Yep.
Right. Yep.
But yeah, interesting that the basically how the classic all shook down, how that was won. Speaking of bass tournaments, that was pretty interesting use of live sonar and a technique that I don't think anyone's ever won a classic on before.
No, I doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, basically moping, which is like live sonar fishing, dead sticking a soft plastic, pretty much is what it is. It's just it's like ice fishing, really, a lot like ice fishing.
Yep.
So it's something I've been wanting to try. Now that I have live scope, I'm definitely going to try it on some of the Cisco lakes up here, because I think a lot of fish just live offshore on those Cisco lakes, and if you could get a bait over the top of them, and I think there's potential to find some fish out there in the basin with that setup.
Yeah, I think so, for sure.
Even big smallmouth, like I know they catch big smallmouth offshore, like in some of those lakes in Minnesota and stuff, just chasing schools of Cisco's around in the summertime. And I'm sure that if you can get a bait to them, they'll eat it, but
yeah,
it's tough to find them without live scope. out in the middle of nowhere.
I'll be out fishing over open water and have smallmouth follow my musky baits in, almost like they're schooling behind them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're definitely out there.
Oh, yeah.
People targeting them all that much.
No, not really. I have a buddy who found them in 35 feet of water, schooling in like the top 10 feet in a lake last summer, and he crushed them. Just crushed them out there, throwing swim baits in 35 feet of water.
Yeah.
So they definitely, and that wasn't even a Cisco lake. You know, that was like a mayfly bite where the mayflies were hatching.
If you see mayflies coming out of the surface, like on a glass column, you might as well go over there. There's probably some fish following them up.
Yep.
Suspended.
Yep, exactly. Do you guys think they will ban live scope type sonar in tournaments? Well, they already have in some tournaments.
But the musky tournaments, but that's it.
But I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they did in some bass tournaments.
Yeah, it's not going to happen in any of the major stuff. 100% it will not.
No, I doubt it.
Much money in it.
Yep. There's a lot of money in it, and they've never had any bans on anything, as far as I know, as far as technology goes.
Umbrella rigs, you can't throw umbrella rigs in bass.
Oh yeah, I suppose that's not really technology, but that's a style of fishing.
The closest comparison, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's true, and that's because it's multiple baits, right? You can't fish multiple baits on a line.
Yeah, but I don't know if you can throw a Minnesota rig. Maybe you can throw like where it's just one hook.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know the answer to that, but I know you can't throw an umbrella rig.
Okay. Yeah, interesting.
In the muskie world, I think they actually changed it from no forward-facing sonar to only one unit per boat now.
On PMTT, they did?
I think that's what they did.
And you can have it set to whatever setting you want as long as you only have one unit?
That's what I heard.
Huh.
I'm not sure, but they're still limiting it, but they're making it a little bit more lax, I think.
Sure. Interesting. Huh.
I don't think there's anything wrong with limiting it, like, not being able to have 3 live scopes or mega lives in your boat, but like to ban it altogether, I think is a weird move in my opinion.
Yeah, I do too. I think from what I understand, they were concerned about it causing people to target fish offshore more, which are more susceptible to warm surface temps because you're dragging them up from deeper, colder water, and they didn't really want people targeting those fish if possible. I think that's what I understand. They were afraid it was going to kill more fish, but that's the rumor anyway. Which kind of makes sense.
In Green Bay, a few years ago you didn't see any live scope poles, and 3 years ago maybe not. Last year you saw a few, but this year it seemed like every dang boat had a live scope pole down. Funny, because there's no other time that you fish around as many boats as you do in these spring walleye run type things.
No.
Oh, you're within yelling distance of a lot of boats throughout the day. And a lot of people are just setting up big drifts, and, they kind of go through it, circle around, go through it. And yeah, live scope poles everywhere. It's definitely here to stay at this point.
Oh yeah. There's nowhere to hide anymore if you're a walleye out there.
No. No, they're not real safe.
No, that's crazy. But yeah, it's like at Red Wing too on the Mississippi. Like, man, there's a lot of the day you could literally flip a jig into the boat next to you most of the day.
Yeah.
Like, it's super tight there. Well, you've been there, Blake. That's just insane there some days. Yep, but yeah, that is a lot of money. They are not cheap. I mean, think of how much money that's made Garmin, for instance. Like, dude, they've sold so many of those units. Well, all the companies now, but Garmin's probably sold twice as many as the rest combined, I'm guessing.
Oh, probably
or more.
3 to 4 times.
Yeah. Yep. But man, they're a pretty sweet tool. I'm excited to use mine this year. That's for sure. It's gonna be fun. Well, it's 10 o'clock, so I think I'm gonna wrap her up. And we're not actually leaving too early tomorrow. Our flight leaves pretty late, so I get to sleep in tomorrow, which is kind of nice. But I still want to get a good head start on the trip because I have a feeling I'm going to be getting up at dark 30 to get out on the canals and fish before it gets light in the mornings. So I think that's going to be the time to rip a big one down there is when it's dark or close to dark. So I just got to watch out for alligators.
Yeah. Well, have fun. Good luck down there.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah. You guys have a good week, and we'll talk maybe next week when it's closer to opener, and then we'll definitely be giving a report once we find out where the fish are at on opening day. I think it's going to be some cold water and probably pre-spawn for a lot of fish, so we'll find out. But yeah, have a good one, guys.
Yep. Yeah.